Communications and Digital Technologies Minister Mondli Gungubele says all SASSA Grants recipients who receive funds via the Postbank have been paid. Gungubele adds that the technical glitch behind the payment delays has been fixed. He says there are now measures in place to ensure that the problems don't occur again. Earlier this month, hundreds of thousands of social grants recipients were not paid on time.
The root cause of Postbank systems challenges that affected the September social grants payment to some beneficiaries, which have now been resolved as of the 6th of September, relate to Postbank's migration to a new system. Postbank Systems Upgrade Program, of which the recent migration forms a component thereof, has been unfolding for a while in line with its 2022-23 as well as 2022-23 corporate plan, and it is also a South African Reserve Bank requirements as part of Postbank banking license application process. Special grants beneficiaries are also urged to ignore the false information that the September payment challenges are as a result of the expired SASSA card. The Reserve Bank has granted extension for the SASSA cards to continue to work until December 2023.
All right, let's stay with this conversation now and speak to #PayTheGrants Deputy Chair Elizabeth Raiters and Black Sash spokesperson Angie Richardson. Let me thank you both for your time. I want to start with you, Angie. The Minister says beneficiaries who receive their SASSA grants via the Postbank have all been paid. Is that the case?
We've definitely seen a decreasing number of beneficiaries. This week, it does appear that they have been paid, although there might still be small pockets of beneficiaries who are battling to access their grant. Unfortunately, what we are seeing, though, is a number of beneficiaries trying to change how they receive their grant to commercial bank accounts. So I think SASSA offices are also being flooded with these types of requests.
And from the work that you do, Elizabeth, as well, you work with SASSA beneficiaries. Let's talk about whether or not everyone who's within your vantage point has been paid, particularly those who get paid via Postbank.
Good afternoon, Bongi. No, definitely not everyone has been paid already, as they've been working non-stop since Monday morning, 5 a.m. up until today, with beneficiaries that still have not received their SASSA grants. We must also note that this didn't only affect the Gold SASSA card members, but it actually started with the SRD grant on the 28th of August. That is actually where the problem started, when the system became online, offline, online, offline. And now we're still sitting with thousands of beneficiaries that hasn't received their money. And majority of them, unfortunately, at the moment, is the SRD beneficiaries who are still getting the insufficient funds message as the retailers, and Postbank say they already got their money, but these beneficiaries did not get any money because the system was mostly offline. And in some instances, they even sending us statements of these beneficiaries to say that they overpaid these beneficiaries in January, and now they have taken the money back in August. Now, why would you take the money back in August?
So, Elizabeth, they overpaid them as in they put extra money, or how did the overpaying happen?
According to Postbank, they overpaid the SRD recipients in January with the extra 350 rand. How that is possible, I don't know, because as I know the procedure works is that SASSA is the person, the department that approves beneficiaries. They then send the files to Postbank. Postbank pays the money to the retailers, and the beneficiary gets the money to retailers. So if it was that they were overpaid, SASSA was going to decline these beneficiaries as debtors. They were not going to get approved messages, but declined messages.
All right, I'm going to come back to you in just a moment because there's something else I want to ask you, particularly when you talk about some of those who have not been paid and what the system is thus saying in that regard. Let me come back to you, Angie. One of the things that we heard about, of course, is this new system, this new way that the post office was now going to be able to pay these particular grants. And I wonder, in your view, given what has happened, do you think that this was rushed or it wasn't really as piloted or rolled out in the manner in which it should have been to avoid this crisis?
I think, I think we need to take a step back. Since Postbank took over from SAPO last year, Black Sash has been cautioning that the department and SASSA didn't do a proper due diligence to really understand, does Postbank have the capacity and the capability to administer approximately 26 million grants? And so there's been a number of technical glitches. We really don't have sight of what exactly these glitches are. This latest one is because they're using a new service provider for their payment switch, but there may well be other issues. So I think there really just hasn't. No one really has sight. I don't even think Postbank themselves understands, what a number of the issues are and who are affected, because the number of, we started this month with, Postbank came out and said, only 280,000 grant recipients had been affected, and that number ended up last week at 600,000. And, a number of people, not just ourselves, media as well, have been speaking to beneficiaries who still can't access their grants, and no one really knows what the scale of the issue is, and we've almost been asked to just accept, the minister's assurances today that everything's fixed and everything will be fine. But this isn't the first time. Like I said, it's the fourth time. So we are not comforted that Postbank has a handle on this.
Now, Elizabeth, one of the things that we've also heard in this regard is that there were some who are trying to claim twice. That's why then they probably would not have been able to get the money. I wonder if that is the truth. Have you spotted any of that?
I have not. That is the statement that Postbank actually put out yesterday, and I did approach them before they put a statement out, and I told them that is totally untrue. Because as a beneficiary, you would not borrow money every day to go to retailers to go and get your 350 if you know you did get it. I have beneficiaries where moms are crying their kids is hungry. And we have asked Postbank to actually do an investigation into this, because as paid grants, we do not accept what they're telling us.
And Elizabeth, I'm going to stay with that, because there's serious repercussions when a grant beneficiary has not received their money. Other people may think it's just 350 Rand, but to them, it's really the bridge between sometimes going to bed hungry and being able to have at least something to eat.
Yes, Bongi, my shoulders are so heavy. My WhatsApp is flooded with messages where parents are asking me for an update, where they say the kids are crying, the kids are hungry, they don't know what to do, and they're asking me if it's okay if they can go to retailers. I have forwarded some ID numbers to Postbank. I got a few answers, but those beneficiaries didn't get paid. They are still saying that these beneficiaries got paid. I have beneficiaries that still have their slips from the retailers that shows they didn't get their money.
Angie, do you think there's an understanding of just how much damage is caused when a grant beneficiary does not receive their money in time?
Minister, I do believe Minister Lindiwe Zulu, she does understand. And I think the challenge is you've got a system that's failing. And I don't think, government, and I definitely don't think the Minister of Communications and Digital Technology understands that possibly it can't be fixed, or whether he chooses not to admit that, these issues are running away with them. And I just think, when they give assurances that everyone has been paid, and then, people come forward and say, well, no, we haven't, and you've got organizations like ourselves and like Elizabeth going, here's the evidence, it just it shows the public, shows grant beneficiaries, do government really care? I mean, do they even understand? And I don't think they grasp, to answer your question, I don't think they grasp the devastating consequences this has on some of the poorest people in our country. And like you say, it might be a small grant, but this is their choice to go to bed hungry or not. And I mean, we've had beneficiary who she couldn't get her medicine, and she had a heart attack queuing to get her to withdraw her pension. It's heartbreaking.
And Elizabeth, one then asks the question, are you, able to raise some of the concerns that you've raised with us tonight with those in power, ministers, for example, or even Postbank and all of that, to try and get answers? Are you being engaged at that level? We are being engaged by Postbank, but I also do think that SASSA should come on board, because now with the SRD, we know how the payment system works. We know SASSA is the only one that can decline you. There's no way that you can owe them money and they will approve you with a pay date. No ways at all. So that is already suspicious, the fact that we know how the system works. SASSA was not going to send the file and the payment to Postbank if the beneficiary was owing SASSA money. So we would like the minister actually to sit with NGOs and listen to NGOs, because we are the ones working on the ground with these beneficiaries. We see their tears, we see their suffering, we see kids crying, and it's devastating. They can just stand behind the desk and talk, but they're not experiencing what we're experiencing on the ground. Elizabeth, what does it do to you when you keep hearing these stories?
Emotionally, it's very draining. It's very, very, very draining, because you sometimes don't know what to say to the beneficiary. I even had a beneficiary that asked me for money last month and last week, and I actually had to explain to the beneficiary, I'm also just a volunteer. I'm also getting declined for my 350, so I'm in the same boat like you, and that's why I'm fighting this cause. But my heart still broke because she couldn't access a children's grant, and the children didn't have food to eat for that night.
Angie, what then becomes that one thing that needs to be done right now to ensure that this problem does not happen again and we do not see beneficiaries who are going without their grants?
I think, look, to fix the entire problem of the system, that's going to take a while. But I think what needs to happen first is both ministers, who oversee these entities, SASSA and Postbank, they just need to be honest with themselves and with us and acknowledge that, yes, it could happen again, but at least that means then we can put a plan in place. So what kind of support, if it does happen again, what kind of support will beneficiaries get on the ground? How do you work with retailers? How do you work with banks? How do you communicate these things? I think just this kind of like we had again today, just these assurances that everything's going to be fine and everything's fixed. It doesn't give anyone comfort. It doesn't. And it's, I think we would all feel just that we're getting somewhere if SASSA just could put some kind of plan in place.
Yeah, especially as you say, a plan in place to even engage retailers so that whatever happens, that there's a plan B. Elizabeth, very briefly, how widespread is this problem? Where are these beneficiaries that you're speaking to based?
I actually have beneficiaries that's contacting me via WhatsApp from all over South Africa.
Sure.
So I'm not only dealing in my community, I'm also dealing with beneficiaries from outside provinces, and this is what we're stressing to Postbank. It cannot be so many beneficiaries from different provinces that can say they haven't been paid if you say they have been paid.
It breaks one's heart to think about what's happening in those households tonight, particularly when they haven't received their money, and where are they looking for some kind of sustenance in order to be able to have something to eat. But let me thank you both for your time, and hopefully we do get some answers on this one. That is #Pay the Grants Deputy Chair Elizabeth Raiters and Black Sash spokesperson Angie Richardson.